if we fail to tell the next generation about God's faithfulness, they may grow up without ever wanting to experience him. Write this down. Faith is meant to be passed down. Faith is meant to be passed down. Look at what David says in Psalm 78 and verse 4. We will not hide them from their children, showing the generation to come the praises of the Lord and his strength and his wonderful works that he hath done. You see, Joshua knew that these memorials needed to be set up to remind the people what God had done. But more importantly than that, one day the generation that had passed over the great Jordan would one day pass, and their children would be coming up the ranks. And one day those children might be playing out in the field and maybe playing in the river, and they see those rocks, and maybe they would ask themselves, what are the purpose of these rocks? And dad and mommy or grandma or grandpa would say, hey, son, little Johnny, these rocks are important. Yes, they may just be boulders, but this reminds us and this reminds you that just as God worked for dad and mom, listen, he can work for you. Hey, so I wonder this morning, who are you telling your God story with? Parents, can I talk to the parents real quick? Parents, let's be intentional about sharing our testimony with our children. I wrote this down. Parents, if you're not excited about the things of God, don't expect your children to be excited about the things of God. Church family, when you go back to your workplace, don't be excited about people coming to church if you feel like you're just being drugged here by your wife. We got to tell our story. We have the privilege, the honor to take our testimony and to put it in the hearts of the young generation, that one day when we pass from this scene, there'll be a generation that comes up and says, hey, I'm going to be faithful to the Lord. Why? Because dad and mom were faithful. Dad and mom stayed on their knees. Dad and mom were soul winners. Dad and mom stayed in church. And because of what they instilled in our hearts, I'm going to stay in church. I'm going to stay after souls. I'm going to stay seeking after Jesus. We got to pass our generation. We got to pass our story to the next generation.